Hello and welcome to Community Week for Hope for You. And it is Wild Wednesday, of course. And on Wild Wednesday, we give away a book that I currently don't have. But we will get it. It's Jesus in Neighborhoods by Austin Maxheimer. He joined us yesterday. If you missed that session, go back and listen to it. It was really good. But today we have Josh Calhoun with us from Hope of Evansville. And it's so great to have you. And we're just going to learn this week about a lot of things in the community, of course. But today we're going to learn about Hope of Evansville and just some of what their resources are, what they do in the community, why it's important, and how did Josh get in the position that he's in today. So, Josh.
Hello, I am here. Oh, wait. Hello. Hey, just a reminder, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, hi, thanks for being here. Also, if you're watching this live stream right now, make sure you tell us that you're watching, that you're here live with us. Put it in that live chat. Give this stream a thumbs up. Do all of the stuff we always ask you to do. Thank you so much. And I'm missing something else. Oh, follow us on socials, Facebook, X, Twitter. Not Twitter. X and Twitter are the same thing. What's that other one? Threads. That's the thing. Threads, X, Facebook, Instagram. We are Hope City EVV on all of those thingies. And that's all I got. So back to Kelly.
Well, yeah, cool. So,
I said that was cool.
Yes, well, it's all these places and all these things that I forget, kind of like when I'm on the platform doing announcements and forget to release the children. But please join us on whatever and subscribe. And, going back to Josh, first of all, it's just great to have you, and thank you for coming. And for those who don't know, Hope of Evansville is they are our neighbor. They're across the street.
They're definitely going to mix our mail up.
Yes, so they have Hope of Evansville, and then they have our colors and their logo.
Oh, yeah. We copied your paint for the exterior, so.
Yeah, they copied our paint. It's fine. And a lot of people ask us a lot, so what are you guys doing at that building across the street? We get that all the time. And so I just thought it would be, first of all, really good to bring you on because of what you do, but also to bring a separation that we're not, I keep on saying, we're not doing anything at that building. That's Hope of Evansville. And this is what they're doing in the community. So share with us a little bit about Hope of Evansville, first of all.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be here. Let me say that first. You guys have an amazing setup here. For all of you who follow their channel, you have to come see this setup. It's amazing. Financial assistance then will help you to redo your paperwork so that your loan terms are better for you, and they'll push whatever you owe to the end of the loan typically. We offer down payment assistance. So if you're looking to purchase your first home, we'll give you up to $15,000 to do that, and we'll help you to fix your credit. We do financial literacy programs. We build homes. We remodel homes. You name it, we do it. And so we're looking to expand into rental assistance because that's a great need in the community. And we offered that over COVID, and we're looking to get back to doing that as soon as we find some funding or a grant that would assist with that. But we're right across the street now in the neighborhood. We saw that there was a great need here in Jacobsville.
Yes.
And so I talked to our board, and I was saying, Hope of Evansville, we rent an office, we make people homeowners. We should have a home. And so that's how we ended up across the street with our new office that used to be Burger King.
Yes, it's been really exciting to see that building transform into what it is. And I got to go inside, and you have a great setup inside, and it's really going to be, already is great for the community, but it's just going to burst forth more and more as you guys are here. So
so we'll have to invite you guys all to the ribbon cutting. So we're planning to do a ribbon cutting before it's all out winter. So we'd like to do it hopefully on a nice fall day that's sunny enough and warm enough so that we can meet on the parking lot, then take a tour of the building and really do like a grand opening.
That's awesome. Before I skip it, if someone's watching this and they're like, man, I need some of these resources, how do they go to get in contact with you guys?
Absolutely. So you can go to hopeofevansville.org, or you can call us at 812-423 3169 and select the extension for whatever it is that you need.
Okay, that's awesome.
Or you can pop in.
Or you
900 North Main.
So, yeah.
I'm going to put the website in the chat.
Okay, that's great. So we were talking before this, and we've talked a lot, and we have jumped into so many different places, but how about you share a little bit of why this is important to you and how you got to this position?
Oh, I got you. This is going to be good. So housing is near and dear to me because growing up, I grew up in poverty, born and raised here in Evansville. I moved 21 different times from the time that I started kindergarten to the day that I moved out senior year of high school. And so housing's always been a challenge. And so when I was thinking to go to college and what I wanted to go for, I wanted to do something meaningful. And I didn't quite know exactly what, because no one on my mother's side of my family had ever gone to college. My mother, she dropped out of high school her senior year. And my stepdad dropped out of school in 7th grade. And so he's got a 7th grade education from Mississippi. And so the struggles made me want to do something different and to be able to show people how to come out of what I came out of. And so I started off thinking I wanted to be an education major, and I wanted to educate people on how to change their lives, how to be more responsible with finances, that sort of stuff. And I found out I was like germaphobe. And so I got to the end where I was ready to go to student teaching, and a kid sneezed on me, wiped his nose on my slacks. And so I ended up changing my major to political science. And in that time frame, I had an opportunity to go become a police officer. And so I wanted to do something to better the community. And I was trying to figure out exactly that thing, right? And so after being a police officer, I decided to go back, finish my last semester of school in political science. And I was like, I'll change the laws. I'll make the laws better, the policies better for people. Because one of the challenges that I experienced when trying to better myself was being on assistance. And when you get a job and you do better and you're making more money, they reduced your benefits. And so I was trying to figure out, how do I teach people how to navigate this? And I'm like, I'll change the policies. And so I got a degree from USI in political science, interned in Mayor Weinzapfel's office. And then I learned about community development, block grants, and that there was a whole department at the federal government dedicated to changing your community and housing. And so I ended up working in community development at the Department of Metropolitan Development. And that's how I got to start in housing and learned about all the different programs that were really about things that I was passionate about, things that I wish that I'd known about when I was growing up. So I could tell my parents, hey, go to this place. They can help us with this. They can help us to buy a home. They can help us to figure out budgeting, and that there's programs to help individuals, with job skills and job training. And so once I learned about all those different grants, I'm like, okay, this is the space that I'm going to work in. This is where I would like to have my career. And so while I have a degree in political science, community development is my passion, because I grew up having struggles that were solvable. I just didn't know where to go. And so now I try to share where to go, how to do it. And Hope of Evansville has been like the perfect fit. And so I worked in metropolitan development for nearly a decade, just learning federal grants and how to use the dollars and how to create programs and the federal guidelines and that sort of thing. And so that's what's made me passionate about this area, because it spoke specifically to the needs that I had growing up. And so now I try to share those things with the community and people who need them.
That's awesome. Today we're talking to a wide range of people.
Yeah.
We're talking to people that feel the same struggles that you just talked about.
Yeah.
And we're talking to people that never have experienced that, and everything in between. So let's first start. What would you say to the person that is kind of looking at the cycles that you normally see in an area like Jacobsville, and they're like, why don't they just, stop doing what they're doing, or get a better job, or, or, a lot of times what I hear is, the people on assistance, they just don't want to work.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you say to those people?
Well, it's challenging, and unless you know specifically how the system is structured, then you'll say those things, right? So the way that it typically happens is when you're on some type of program for assistance, you have to report everything. So if your income changes, you have to report that. Job change, you have to report that. And so whether that's assistance for your rent, if that's assistance for food, you have to report those things. And so when you report that you've had an increase in your finances, they decrease your benefits. And it's not a tiered system where you have an increase here and then later on they decrease the benefits after you've made adjustments. And so a lot of times you're talking about people who don't have budgeting skills. You're talking about people who just aren't familiar with how to incrementally change your life and be able to make those adjustments on the fly. It takes time, and so it takes some education. And so when you're making such changes so fast, it's difficult to make those real time changes. And so the system is not set up for you to get off of it. It's set up for you to stay in this range. And if you don't, and you're trying to do better, then that system, that the way that it's currently structured, it's almost like it penalizes you. And so it's either you stay in poverty and you stay within this range of doing good, or you try to do better, and it messes all these things up. And sometimes people aren't able to make those adjustments. And so it looks like individuals want to stay on the system, but it's created and designed for you to stay in this comfort range so that you can be managed.
And with that, one thing that was just brought to my understanding was, you don't, like with food stamps, you don't go from getting a certain amount to gradually losing it. You either have it or you don't.
And so it's like, am I eating this month because I decided to do better for myself? And then if you don't report it, it's fraud. And so, being responsible and reporting on time and that sort of thing, those things are good and nice to do, but you're penalized for those things. And so it's a delicate balance on how do I operate as a successful and responsible citizen and still achieve what I want to achieve without hurting myself. And so that's the challenge that a lot of people are facing. And so it's some tough real life decisions that have to be made on, am I going to be law abiding and report this, or are we going to eat? And if it doesn't all line up just right, sometimes you may not eat, or you may have a bill that's not paid on time. And so, those are real life choices that people are making every day.
Yeah, it was really like, I already knew some of this, but it's really hard and eye-opening when you're walking with people and they are working their butts off and they are striving. But, I started learning, like, with food stamps, it's all or nothing.
Yes.
With other assistance, it's all or nothing. And so, making up that amount while trying to come out of it kind of leaves this hole. And I was looking over here at some of the comments. It says, the system is structured to penalize increase. And that was from Elizabeth. And Pastor John said, the mammon system of this world does not want to let go of anyone.
So true. So true. And I lived it. And so I know, I know the struggles that I had to overcome trying to get to that next step where I don't need assistance. And, it was bittersweet. It was bittersweet, finishing college and no longer needing assistance, getting that first job. And I remember that I was worried. I'm like, okay, now I got to make sure to budget this right so that we can eat and I can pay all these bills. But now I don't have to report everything to the food stamp office or, the leasing office. And so it was bittersweet, but it was definitely a change that had to happen. And I had a lot of really good people to help me to make sound decisions. I had a nice support system in some of my in-laws. And so it takes a lot of different things to change your life toward the better, to get off public assistance.
So let's break that apart a little bit. Let's talk to the person right now that is really trying to do that.
Yeah.
And they're striving to do that, and it seems so hard. I've talked to people a lot that are striving to do this, and they have kids and stuff, and so you feel that pressure of not having food, or and how do you choose, and stepping out into that next level where you lose food stamps and stuff like that. What would you say to that person right now? Is it worth it?
It's worth it. It's worth it. It may not feel like it at the moment, but it's worth it. And once you get on the other side and you're able to function and operate with that new budget where you don't have to have any assistance, you can tell someone else how to do it. And so your story, your struggle, whatever the issues are that you may be having, like, you can definitely overcome them. Go to the places that will offer you assistance, like church and organizations like Hope of Evansville, all the different nonprofits. And so make sure that you have you build a nice support system so that when things do start to improve and you start to lose things, that you have people to motivate you to keep going, because ultimately that's the life that you want, because there's other people who may need the assistance, and then you want to be able to tell people that it's possible to do better. And I'm proof of that. And so I'm not just saying something that I read in a book or that I heard, I lived it. And so it is possible. So keep going.
And then also, what would you say to someone that wants to be a support system? How do you learn how to be a good support and not be in the toxic charity place? And how do you stand beside someone? Yeah,
it's accountability. It is knowing specifically how to help those individuals. A lot of times, like I say, if you've been through what those individuals are going through, you can really speak intimately to what they need to do. And sometimes it's those tough talks of, this is what you need to do, and there isn't another way. Like, this is the path. And you hold their hand, and you're there to support them, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And you just tell them, keep going. I'm here for you to help you, but not enable you. And, that's a fine line. It can be a gray area sometimes when you're helping individuals and trying not to enable them. So you want to teach them how to fish rather than just giving them fish. And sometimes giving them fish is the answer too, but you want to teach them how to fish so that they can be self-sustaining, so that it's not always this thing where you're holding their hand. And so you have to provide them opportunities for growth. You also have to provide them opportunities to sweat so that they're able to do it on their own.
I want to hit on that a little bit. So you were saying give them opportunities to sweat so that they can learn on their own. Give good examples of, a good support and a bad support of giving.
So, look, I can speak to this, like this is something new in my life now. So, having relocated at our new office, there was a lot of homeless individuals living in our building. And so I felt guilty for displacing those people, right? And so I met so many different homeless people. And when I first moved into the office, every day they were coming by asking for money. And they're like, hey, I need this, I need to buy food, I need to get this item, that item. And so the first few times, I gave money. And then I'm like, okay, I'm enabling these individuals by just giving them money. How can I help them to improve their situations? And so then I started providing them job opportunities. I'm like, okay, we need this and that done around the office. If you're willing to go around the building and clean up the grounds and that sort of thing, I can give you money for this thing or that thing. And so that is an example of where it was a bad habit, bad relationship where I was just giving, because individuals don't want you to just give to them. They may think that, and they may feel that in the moment, that I need this right now, just give it to me. But deep down, I think they know, and that it's not helping them. And so ultimately, the goal is to help individuals to do better. And so you have to provide opportunities for them to feel like they're earning that thing that you're assisting with. And that is a good positive exchange for how you help an individual to change. But sometimes it pulls at your heartstrings. and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to do this. And you do that so many times, and then you're like, okay, this isn't really helping because nothing's changing.
Yeah, because they're not striving to go after it.
Yeah, and so, when you have those heart-to-heart conversations, like there's one guy that I really have heart for in the neighborhood. I don't know if I can say his name, but he's one of the guys that I've worked with. We jokingly call him the property manager because there was a lot of homeless people on our property, and I was like, you guys can be here for 2 weeks. So until you find somewhere else to go, I'm like, go to Aurora, talk to them at Aurora. They can help you get housing. And some of the individuals didn't want housing. And so, learning the needs of the people too. Like some people, you feel like they need help and they don't want help. They like what they're doing. And so then you have to meet them where they are. And there's some things you can't help them out of because they want to stay. You have to recognize that too. But our AJ, who we call our property manager, he tells people, this is a place that's helping people, make sure that you keep grounds clean. And he helped to do that. And he helped us to really transition people from sleeping in our dumpster enclosure and under this large tree that was behind our building. And, he would come over and ask for things. I'm like, hey, AJ, I did this for you this many times. I'm like, you're a grown man. I was like, and nobody's going to take care of you except for you. I was like, so I'm going to give you this today, but tomorrow you're going to earn it. He was like, okay, I'll earn every dollar. He was excited to earn every dollar. And so he's done quite a bit of work for us. We've tried to create jobs for him, and it's a work in progress and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's like a labor of love, like where you're just trying to love people, meet them where they are to help them to do better and give them opportunities to do better without enabling them.
Yeah, it's that hard line.
Yeah.
And every day it feels like it moves.
It does. It does.
So,
it definitely does. And I told you I've got a heart for him, right? And so for about a month, he was doing really well, had a place to stay. And I didn't see him. And I was telling my staff, I'm like, I'm really worried about him. I was like, I haven't seen him. I was like, I'd like to make sure he's okay. And then I saw him. He was doing well and that sort of thing. And then, a week later, he showed up at my office, tears in his eyes, and things weren't going so right. And, just talking them through those moments and telling them, it's going to get better, but these are the things that you still need to do. And, having a relationship makes it so you can say some of those tough things. And so, I may not always speak in godly terms, but they know I love them. And so, and that's helped me to create rapport with some. And so some people, they respond to that. And I learned that at the police department. But, you do it with love. The intent is love and to cause individuals to do better. And so, I've been able to do that just across the street with the relationships and the people that I've met. And it's a journey. It's a moving line every day.
And for people that are working in those relationships, you hit on that, how relationship is important.
Oh yeah.
How does it work without relationship?
Well, without relationship, you don't get the same outcomes because you can't say certain things because you don't know them. You don't have a relationship. Like, so I could tell you something that's critical, but if I don't have a relationship with you, you may not receive it. And so if you know that I care and I've shown you that I care, then I can tell you some of those challenging things and you'll receive it. Whereas without relationship, it's, your comments, your critiques are falling on deaf ears. And so, that relationship piece is important. So people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And
so I'm going to pull on the other side of you a little bit. For the people that is walking in relationships, from church and, wanting to see the full restoration that we know about, right? God talks that he's going to restore, right? How does walking and supporting someone fit into that plan?
Restoring. Sometimes, it's, sometimes we get to see the different angles, the different developments that take place. Sometimes we're directly involved. Sometimes we're on the front end. Sometimes we're on the back end. And so just having that perspective that you may not see the fruits of your labor. and that sort of thing, but understanding that there's a purpose and that there's an end goal, and trusting that God will do the things that you desire to happen for people that you care about. And so, that walking alongside them and, waiting to see where God steps in and fulfills the things and the promises to the people. Like, it's, you have to trust yourself. It takes a little bit of faith as the person walking alongside whoever you're helping. It takes some faith to do that, even when you don't see the results sometimes. And so sometimes you do, but it's just understanding that you may plant the seed, someone else may water, God gives the increase.
That's right. And going along those lines, I know a lot of what you do comes from that passion, of wanting to see that restoration and seeing people to walk in the promises. And I think sometimes it's hard because, the first half of this, we hit on principles, we hit on physical, we hit on why it's hard to get off the system, we hit some very important things. And I think for some people, they're either on one side or the other of the pendulum, right? Of spiritual and physical, and so with the belief system that above all, God is above all, right? Mm-hmm. He is victorious. We can walk in victory. We are set free, right? Yeah. How do you mend that? Because you actually have a really good mix, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
And so
I jokingly tell people I try to be like Christ, but I'm probably more like Peter. and I'm like, I have good intent, and sometimes that good intent doesn't always express itself the best. But
nobody's perfect.
I have good intent, but it's understanding that whatever happens to us, whether good or bad, that there's lessons to learn. And if we learn those lessons, that we can live in this natural state with a spiritual understanding that God is in control, and that whatever is going on in my life, if I learn from it, that it's not a loss. And so I think a lot of times people get caught not learning the lessons. And so they get stuck, and they get stuck maybe in addiction, or they get stuck in a pattern that they don't know how to fix. And so, when we're able to say, hey, this is the way, I can tell you this is the way because I've been this way, or I know someone that's gone this way. Let me introduce you to this person who can speak to this specifically for you. And so, that's what it looks like, trying to have that good mix of natural living and the spiritual element. But it's, like I said, it's every day, it's something new. It's different. It's a work in progress. It's a journey. It's
well, it's one of those things where, we were talking earlier about how it's hard for people because a lot of our patterns in our decision making with money, especially, comes generational.
That's right.
And when you learn how to change your words to the authority that God has given you, that's also generational, right? You heard your mom, you heard your grandma, you heard generationally these patterns of words and have been given to you, and you speak what you've heard over your life, and you speak it, and you don't walk in the authority that was given to you. And so when things happen in our lives and we're in old patterns, we don't speak with authority of what we have authority over. And it leaves us in those patterns. But also, what came out of that conversation mainly for me was, you were talking that poverty and the decisions with money doesn't really start with that person, typically.
Right. It's generational.
It's a generational thing. And so when we walk in the patterns with our, the way we view God, the way we view our authority, the way we view how things happen, it's really generational too as well. And so speak a little bit about the generational poverty that you see, and how do you help people change to know how to manage their money? And what are some of the things that was stuck that you see over and over, that it's a pattern that people can change or shift?
So again, I speak from my perspective of poverty, in learning bad habits with money. So I grew up seeing that when you got paid, you spent it. And a lot of times, my stepdad, he struggled with alcohol addiction. And so he'd get paid, and before he came home, he'd spend that money. Or he'd go buy an outfit because he was trying to go out or something. And then, my mom, she wasn't great at budgeting. And so she's like, okay, you can go do that and we'll pay the bills after. And so, learning those bad habits and realizing that those specific things are what caused this situation. When you're able to pinpoint those things, you can change them. But in a lot of cases in poverty, they do the things that they know how to do and they don't recognize how they're damaging. And so when you can tell them, okay, you can, instead of buying this item, you can buy this and you can buy multiples. And you show them that way. When you create a budget and you say, you've saved X amount of dollars by doing this thing this way. And you have to really show them one-to-one what it is to change the mindset. Because sometimes it's just learned. And so when you talk about poverty, it's passed down. It's like there's a great story. I forget who told it, but it was a lady who she received a roaster from her mother, and in her family they baked all the hams in that roaster, and so they would get the ham and they cut the end of the ham off, and they learned that from the mother. They cut the end of the ham off, and they bake it in this roaster. So when this lady, she started having her own gatherings, she'd take her ham and she'd cut the end off. And so she asked her mom, she's like, Mom, why do we do this? Why do we cut the end of the ham off every time? And she said, well, I used to do it because it wouldn't fit in the pot. and so she continued doing that even after she had a pot that was big enough for the ham. And it was something that she learned. And so when she learned different, she stopped cutting the end off and stopped wasting the ham. And so a lot of times it's learning like where the waste is and how you fix it, why certain things were done a certain way. And when you learn better, you do better.
Yeah. Well, that's so true on the physical side with spending, with money habits, with the way you run, the physical. And it's so true on the spiritual side too, because, how you speak, know your authority, know who you are in Christ, know where your freedom comes from. And so both of those coming together is the restoration.
Yes.
And so I was just making sure that, because a lot of times we might learn good money habits, but if we're still speaking negative, or we're still speaking, basically death over ourselves or our family, then we will continue in those patterns as well. So it kind of goes hand in hand of how you look at it and how you imagine where you're walking. And I think also while we were talking is you said, you and also as me, we never imagined past what we saw.
Yeah.
It's not even that, like, at one point in my life, I never imagined, investing money. I never imagined certain things in my life.
Oh, yeah.
And how do you change that? And how do you help people to imagine things that they never saw?
For me, what changed my life was on my father's side. It was a good, solid, middle-class family. They worked, owned businesses, and I had two great uncles, Edgar and Cliff. Every year, in the summer, they'd do a family trip. Then they'd get these big coach buses that they'd pay for, and all the family would just show up, and we'd take a trip somewhere. Usually, it was educational someplace. We went to Tuskegee one year, and back in Alabama, where my family comes from. And so we got to see the old house that my great-great-grandmother lived in. And so getting outside of what the norm was for me helped me to see something different, that people live different than what I've come to know. And so you expose individuals to new things, new experiences, it broadens their minds to what's possible. And so if I could do this with every adult struggling in poverty, I'd create a program to specifically expose them, to make them vulnerable, to where we'll go out in nature somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And now the information that I'm sharing with you, that information is gospel. And it's those extreme shifts and those extreme situations that create deep relationship and they create new paradigms. And so like for me, I had experiences like that where I was taken out of my element, shown new things, and then I was able to come back with that new information and apply it to my life. And I think church for a lot of people is that experience, but we have to be intentional on how we create that and how we make that happen. So like mentoring, when I talk to young kids, I try to create an experience where we're out someplace where they have to depend on me. And then I can tell you the right things, and you get rid of ego, you get rid of all of the young bravado. And for adults, you get rid of all the bad behaviors and that sort of thing, because it doesn't work in this new environment. And so you're able to create something new that way. You create an experience. And so that's what I would say for anyone trying to change or shift a person's perspective. You change the environment, you put into them and instill into them what the right thing is. And then when they go back to their old environment, they're able to make adjustments. And that I experience that every summer, and going to a new place and learning new things. And I'm like, okay, this is how they live in Florida. This is how they live in Alabama. This is how they live in whatever place we went to. And so I got to travel and experience different cultures and different ways of living. And so I got to see a lot of poverty too. I'm like, okay, and poverty in this place looks different than where I'm from. And they don't do it all the same. So there has to be a way to do the right thing the right way. And I just have to figure it out. And so, that's what I work to and strive to do. And now that's what I try to do and create for other people, those experiences that change their minds.
That's awesome. Along the same lines, what would you say to someone that is stuck in a pattern and they know they're stuck? Like, I don't know about you, but I knew in certain situations I was stuck. But what would you say to them that, they can't imagine what you're talking about? And how would you challenge them to go into a relationship, trust someone, and challenge them to look outside? They're in the survival mode. They're stuck. They're in a pattern. They're probably working more hours than we can think of.
Yep.
What would you say to them right now?
Well, you find someone who is doing what you want to do. Like, find someone who you believe is living the life that you would like to live. And you go and you ask, how did you do it? And people write books about it. People will share stories about it. People will hold your hand and help you do it in a lot of cases. And it's really just about you being hungry enough to figure it out, to solve it. And so another thing for me is when I became an avid reader, I started learning all kinds of stuff from books. And read books, listen to audiobooks. And so I learned a lot of stuff about business and personal development and psychology and all these different things. And there's a lot of free stuff, like Tony Robbins. He has so many videos on how to change your life. And I started listening to motivational speakers. So your personal development will help you to get to that next stage. But find someone who is doing the thing that you would like to do. If you're struggling with an addiction, you find somebody who overcame addiction. If you are struggling with budgeting, you find someone that was successful and came out of poverty with budgeting. If you're struggling to be an entrepreneur, you find someone that has been a successful entrepreneur, and they'll tell you how they got there in a lot of cases. And if you can't get direct access to them, then more than likely they've wrote a book or they've created a video. And so you go somewhere and you connect to a free Wi-Fi and you figure it out. They give out free phones in the neighborhoods. They set up on our parking lot at Hope all the time, usually once a month. And so you go get that free phone and you use that phone to better your life. And so that's really what it takes. Every day you're chipping away at it and you're learning something new, and you connect yourself to people that are successful. Yeah. And then eventually you'll look up and your whole circle of people is positive people. And they've helped you to change your life, and then you help someone else.
Yes, that's awesome. That's really good. And as you were talking, it is a chipping away, because I think a lot of times we live in a fast-paced society where we think, you're going to go through the drive-through.
Get it right now.
And we're going to get it right. We're going to fix it today. And from today forward, we're just going to be different. And really, it's that chipping away. It's that everyday decision that makes the difference coming out.
Yeah, so it's really similar to giving your life to Christ. So you make up your mind that this is the way that I'm going to live from this moment forward. It doesn't fix all of your problems right away, but you have your mind made up and you're dedicated to every day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be better. And so it's that same dedication that when you accept it in your mind, that it's already done.
Yeah.
And so your problems don't instantly go away, but you've accepted in your mind that this is the path forward. This is how I'm going to live, and this is going to get better.
That's right. That's right. Well, that brings me to a comment that Pastor John made that I've lost now, and Skylar's going to find it for me, but it was about generational and being in Christ.
Yeah.
And
Emily said, getting away from negative people changed my life. Same for me.
yes. And then also, we've reached our 100th comment.
Oh, wow.
And I believe that was Elizabeth. So,
Woohoo!
woohoo! Congratulations.
Yeah.
I will order the book and get it back.
Yeah.
I've given it away too much. So, I will definitely get the book to you. So, congratulations on that. And Skylar's going to...
Hey, look at that. All three of us right there.
Yeah, there we are.
So Pastor John said, we must see ourselves in Christ. All previous generational patterns end, and we begin new generational patterns.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then Emily said, learning from those who have come before us will help us not repeat the past.
That's right.
That's really good. And
Shanti, she said, I think I'm saying her name right, Shanti.
yes,
She said, she had a comment about imagination, and like that is huge, being able to imagine yourself in a place. Like I'm big on manifesting and that sort of thing, because I believe that we create our reality, that is a God-given gift, that we create our reality, and that if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And so if you visualize it, having a better life, that eventually it's going to happen. It's faith. It has to.
well, not too long ago, we did a series called Imagine That. And basically, in fact, just recently, God was kind of taking me back to those scriptures because, I think, you start living the life, you start doing good, right? But God, when he purposed your life before you, had such a greater purpose. And it says even more than what you can imagine.
Yep.
And yet we hold ourselves to the cycle of the world. And so if you can imagine and start lining up with the word of God, what he has for you.
It's even better.
Yeah, and you just start talking about it. I get excited when you start thinking about that his ways are to prosper you, not to bring you harm.
Yeah.
That his ways is, and when you start thinking about that and you start putting in that in your head with your imagination,
Yeah.
then you start breaking forth, and like I said, it takes all of it for restoration. Finding someone that's walking in that, victory of whatever you want to get out of, and doing what they do. And listening, but getting into the truth of God and knowing what he already had prepared for you when he had you in mind, and getting that truth in you so that you can imagine out of your cycle.
Yeah.
is so important. And
it's so wild too, because like I've sold myself short so many times. I'm like, okay, God, this is what I'm imagining, this is what I would love to do, and then God far exceeded any expectations that I've had.
Yes.
And it blows my mind just to sit and think about all the different things. Like when I wanted to buy my home, I was like, I'd like a home. I was like, maybe 150,000, something like that. I'm like, that's nice. And, I was blessed to purchase a home that was twice that much. I'm like, I don't know how. But like, other than just saying, God really blessed me to be able to do that. And I was looking for homes, and I'm like, okay, I'd like to just find a nice home to move out of this bad neighborhood that I'm in. And I was able to build my first home in a really nice neighborhood. And it all just came together. I just remember laying in bed at night, just praying and imagining what a new home would be like, what it would smell like, what it would feel like, what new carpet smells like, what fresh paint smells like. And my wife and I would lay in the bed, we get giddy about it, and it become this contagious feeling of excitement. And I think that's what it takes with other people. And sometimes maybe they don't have the imagination, but you say, hey, let's imagine this together. What could it look like if?
Yeah, because I think a lot of times when it's not a part of your world, then you can't see it, and if you can't imagine it, and if you can't bring it forth, then you're not speaking and you're not going that direction.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very key to everything.
It
and
is.
so
It really is.
and so now I'm going to really hit on you a little bit.
All right.
You said you wanted organic. That's what you said.
Yeah, for sure.
So, we're talking about finances, we're talking about prosperity, and I know that this has been very key to my success in that area. But what do you talk to people about giving? They might be stuck in a cycle, and now they're part of a church, or they're a part of an organization, or even
Absolutely.
to their neighbor, because one of the things that you were talking about is supporting others.
Yes.
What does giving do for someone to come out of their cycle?
So it is. It's a weird mathematical system, right?
Yeah.
So like, I've always heard like when you give, it's not subtraction, right? And so don't think of it like traditional math, right? But it does add up. And so like when you're giving, whether that is your money or your time or your talent, like you're giving something, and it is a law that whatsoever you soweth, you shall also reap. And so when you're giving and you're pouring in, it has to come back. It has to. And so it's important that you give something. You may not always have money to give, but you have a talent, you have time, you have something that you can give, your cooperation, something. And so it's important that you always focus to give something, because like I said, God constructed this world to work in a certain way. And so whatever you put out is coming back to you. And so you have to make sure that you're putting out good things.
That's good. I just wanted to hit on that because a lot of times when you are in a struggle and when you're in a cycle, and someone talks about I call it God math of giving.
That's it.
It is a hard concept.
It is.
And so,
it transforms something in you when like maybe you're the person who maybe needs to receive right now, but then you find that you can give something to someone else in a way that and it changes you in a way you didn't even expect, right? Like you're like, I don't have anything to give. I'm downtrodden, I'm this, I'm that. And then you find that there is something that you can give. It changes your perspective. And so then you learn, no matter what my condition is, I have something to offer. I'm valuable, even if I feel like I have nothing. I have something. And so that changes your whole perspective. And so, yeah, strive to give, even when you don't believe there's anything to give. You find something, you figure out a way, whether it's just a kind gesture or a smile or a hello. You find something and then you build on that, and it comes back.
Well, I have never heard a story where someone, because you talk a lot to people who are like, now God wants me to give, and I was like, just try it, because I've never been able to outgive God, and I've never heard God say to do something and then not reap that back, and so one of the things that I tell people all the time is, if you're stuck in a financial cycle, go back, and if they have a relationship with God, go back and ask God, where are you supposed to give?
Yeah.
And they kind of look at me like, what are you talking about? Because a lot of times, it's in our giving and it's in our sowing and it's in our tithing that we start seeing that God math come about.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't know how many times, there was a time in our life where we had just got married, and Jared was supposed to transition from one job to the next job, and he had a small surgery in between, and he got blackballed from his job that he was supposed to go to. And we had ketchup and ramen noodles and Kool-Aid. That's what we had in our kitchen.
I seen the cupboard like that. Yeah.
And we were givers, and we're like, God, you know, and I think our expectation was, you know, we're gonna sow, and you know, we're gonna continue on our jobs, right? And we're gonna be able to afford what we need. And all of a sudden, we had a knock on the door, and it was this man, and he was real nervous. He was shaking from head to toe, and he said, "I had a dream last night," and he goes, "Your kitchen might be full, but that's okay. I've never done this before in my life. I just have to be obedient." Yeah. And he starts bringing in these coolers, and we were just newly married, so we didn't have things like steak or we didn't live like that. And he like brought in steak and everything, and after he left, God was just like, "See, I told you, if you'll just trust me, I have a plan for you." And that plan might not be that someone knocks at your door with money, but it's the giving that allows your heart to be open to those next steps. And I don't think it's just the next steps of receiving. I think it's the next steps of hearing from people like you that knows the financial ways, you know, being connected with resources that can show you how to help with your first home and walking in those areas. But giving your time, whether in any type of avenue, leaves your heart open to what God has on the educational side, on the receiving side, and also to walk in His math and not in our own worldly mindset. Because as you heard from the system that we have, it's not set up for people to succeed off the system. But in God, He has always had in His mind from the beginning for you to succeed, from the beginning for you to prosper, from the beginning for you to walk in victory. And so just remember that there is a lot of resources to learn, but the biggest thing is to leave your heart open to learn from people that is walking in the areas that that you want to see yourself in, but also is walking in the freedom of knowing how to give and how to leave your heart open in those areas.
Absolutely. Well said. Look, amen.
So how would you like to end today? Is there anything that you would like to say to someone that's working in the community and is walking in the community? What is your encouragement?
There's people who care. There's people who have made helping people their life's mission. And so continue the good work for those of you who are working in the community for change. Sometimes it may not look like change happens as fast as you want to, but keep with it, stick to it. You're not laboring alone. For those individuals who need services, there's people out here who are wanting to help, who are passionate about helping. And all we're asking is that you want to help yourself too. And so, we're here. Hope of Evansville's here. Hope City Church is here. There's a lot of organizations that are in the gap to really make our community better. And it's available. It's possible. So let's make it happen. We're here to hold your hand. We're here to walk alongside you. We're here to support you. And I say that to the person who needs services, and I say that to the organizations or people who are providing services.
Well, Josh, I just thank you so much for your time. And we at Hope City are so thankful for Hope of Evansville, even though we get your mail and you like our colors so much.
We took them. I'm still in this whole setup.
And now he's taking our setup. We got to be careful, you know. No, seriously, we are very thankful. We look forward to working on many more projects together.
Absolutely.
We've done some small stuff together, but I see bigger stuff in the future for sure.
For sure. I think we should do a block party.
Yes, most definitely. We need to do that for sure.
We should do a block party.
And so keep posted, you know. Maybe not in the winter though. But
it was at Poverty Snacks kind of slap though. They do.
They do, yeah.
I can make some mean ramen.
We should have a competition. A ramen competition.
I'm pretty good. I can put some of everything in ramen and make it taste good.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that would relate to that for sure.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys for joining us today. And this was just very informative, just all the way around. It was a great great time, and
Well, this was great.
I just I look forward to doing more with Hope of Evansville, and I hope you learned about the awesome organization that we have here in Jacobsville. And this is just one of the organizations that we collaborate with, but it is the layered work that is happening to not just transform a person, but to transform the whole area.
Yes.
And in either direction, you get to be a part of that. And so I appreciate you guys joining us today. And tomorrow, we will continue our community week with Emily interviewing me. I am not scared at all. And if you have any questions that you would like me to answer, send them to Emily. And I think Skylar is going to jump on and tell you how to send those. And thank you for joining us today. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Hello, I'm jumping on to tell you how you can send those. So you can put it in the live chat of this video right now. You can put it in the comment section of this video once the video is over, or you can text me directly, or I guess you could even text Emily, whoever's number you have, or you can message us on Facebook. I might not see it for like 10 days because Facebook's a dead social media. I'm going to throw that out there every chance I get. But anyway, do that. And then tomorrow we're going to do that with your questions. So do the thing. There's the thing. Am I supposed to end this completely? Or here? Oh.
Bye.
Okay, that easy. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.